So it's Sunday, which means we're going to be talking about mental health. We've been engrossed with the show 13 Reasons, and this is all about a high school girl who killed herself. She committed suicide, and she made 13 tapes detailing out why she did it. And although it's not known if she had a mental health disorder in the show, her reason for suicide was bullying. What really hit home for me as a school teacher is the cyberbullying that took place, and just the bullying in general, and how huge of an impact that can have on a child. And her parents didn't realize the warning signs, and her friends didn't realize the warning signs, and it was a tragic ending. And we really enjoyed the show.
It was really good. And in the show, like, without any really spoilers, we see in Hannah's perspective how hard it was when she was going through all that to reach out for help.
She wasn't able to put into words how she felt, and she was never able to say the magic words, "I want to die." And so there was a lot of things that happened. This is real quick, this is going to be spoilers. In the last episode, she sat down with the school's social worker, and he didn't act because he should have acted and called somebody, but she didn't make it abundantly clear that she was thinking about suicide. And the warning signs were all there, but nobody did anything. Hannah didn't do enough. Nobody else did enough, and it ended up tragically costing her life. But why I feel like this show is so important for everybody is because this is a mainstream show that is tackling one of the hardest issues to talk about, is suicide and mental health and bullying. And these are huge issues that, suicide is preventable.
It is.
It's 100% preventable. You've got to look out for the warning signs, you guys. And you've got to, if you're feeling helpless or alone, you've got to reach out.
Mm-hmm. And just a couple warning signs. I think that you will pick it up if you do watch the series. But any drastic changes in somebody's behavior are good to note. But if somebody appears to be more withdrawn,
don't care anymore about certain things, or grades are slipping. There's lots of different warning signs. Antisocial. There's a lot of different warning signs to look out for, but I'm so glad that this show really started the conversation on this. I hope that a lot of parents now out there are looking at their own kids, especially teenagers, and asking more about their life and getting involved more and being there more for them. And so much we trivialize high school problems, it's just high school stuff. Mm-hmm. But to high school students, it's the most important thing in the world. These little things, these mean, nasty texts, or anything that happens on social media, it is incredible the power that social media can have for evil. And it's important to be aware of your child's life, or if it's a friend or whatever the case may be. It's important to look out for the warning signs, and it's important to seek the help or to ask, how are you doing? And enough of, we should, as a society, we got to stop this exchange right here. Hey, how's it going? Good. How are you? And if you're really not feeling well, we have to be okay to say, not well, I'm not well, I need help. We have to be able to get there.
Absolutely.
And so why we wanted to talk about, we feel like we want to use this as a platform, this show, 13 Reasons Why, and relate it to our own story. And so now I'm going to have Kristen share her story from her perspective, and I'll talk about it from my perspective. And we hope that this may help somebody out there. The reason why we're so open with all of this is because we want to help somebody. If this can help just one person not make that terrible mistake, that terrible, irreversible mistake, then we've done our job. So we really want to share this story with you that we're about to say. This is a quick disclaimer that it is very specific and real. So here we go. We want to talk about why this show hit home so hard for the both of us. Because it took place in a school, and it also dealt with the topic of suicide, it really hit home, and it really hit hard, and it was very powerful for us to see and to really connect with on a really deep level.
Kyle and I were living in Chicago by ourselves, and I had been struggling with suicidal thoughts on and off for years, but it was really starting to pick up. I just didn't really want to admit it. I felt kind of ashamed, embarrassed, because
she would call it negative self-talk, and That's what she told me. Oh, I'm having negative self-talk, and I didn't think anything of it until one day I was at work. It was a Friday. I'll never forget this day. It was the middle of the day, and I was teaching, and we've communicated with each other that the only time she's to call me during the work day, because she knew my schedule. She knew when I was on lunch, when I was on break, and so I knew if she was calling me, it was an absolute emergency. So I answered my phone in the middle of a lesson, and it was her telling me that she was going to be admitted into the hospital for the psychiatric unit after she had went to visit what I thought was a routine checkup from her doctor.
Yeah.
What did you say? Because what spurred that on?
Basically, what spurred that on is in that moment, I wasn't sure if I had the motivation enough to stay alive and be safe on my own.
So basically, she talked into the doctor and told the doctor she was working with that she had suicidal thoughts, and immediately the doctor wanted to work with her and admit her, and so that is the starting point. And then
I'd been in the hospital for a couple days. When I was released, Kyle was great, but it was just really strange. It felt really weird being out back in the world, and my medicine wasn't quite right. So after about a month or so being out, we went back home to visit with family, and I just remember having this awful feeling of dread, not wanting to go back to Chicago because I was really miserable, feeling really hollow, and it wasn't anything with Kyle. It was just that in that time of my life, I was so severely depressed that I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't enjoy anything anymore.
She got to a point where it was to the point where she was saying things like, I don't know if I want to get better. And that was, for me, the scariest part. That was the part where I thought maybe I wasn't ever going to get my wife back again. And we had a very, very emotional conversation. And, looking back, it was a low point for everything. And on our way back to Chicago from our family get-together, was probably the scariest moment of my life, when we were having a conversation and all of a sudden Kristen unbuckled her seatbelt and she tried to open the door to the car.
So basically what was going through my mind is that my life is over. I kind of felt like I was already gone, that I wasn't myself anymore, and that people's lives would be better without me.
It was to a point where she was feeling so low, and there was no answer, no way out, the intrusive suicidal thoughts and the negative self-talk was so persistent that she couldn't see a way out. And so luckily I was able to stop her from getting the door open, and I turned right around and we stopped off at a gas station, and I was able to convince her that to turn around, and instead of going back home to Chicago, we turned around and I drove her back to our community where our family is from, and we immediately got her admitted to the hospital. And so I was able to convince her to get some help, and that there was an answer. And so we ended up going back and getting her admitted into the hospital, and this time she stayed there for longer. And it was the most terrible experience ever. The reason why we're sharing this with you is because we wanted to show you that this is, that's where Kristen was. That's such a dark place. She was at such a dark place, and she was able to bounce back from that, and now look at her.
Back a couple years ago when this was happening, I didn't think that I would ever be able to I didn't think that I'd be able to work again. I didn't think that I would be able to enjoy spending time with other people. I just didn't think that I would be happy again.
And so basically, after spending another week in the psychiatric unit and getting her medicine back right and getting counseling and getting the help that she needed, we were able to go back to Chicago and continue our lives like normal until we eventually moved back here. Mm-hmm. But the key to this story is that there is another way. And You've got to realize when you need help, and you've got to ask for help and seek help. And if you are feeling suicidal, or you have someone in your life or family that is feeling suicidal, it's important to get the help that you need, or to show them that there's a way and get them the help that they need. We're going to link up the suicide help hotline right here down below so that you can see. It's important to start looking at the warning signs, you guys. You have to be very careful. If someone is telling you that they're feeling suicidal, you cannot be judgmental. You have to just hear them out and listen, and do not shrug it off as, oh my gosh, oh, they're just wanting attention. No, you've got to take it seriously.
Absolutely. Because that person in that moment or in that time is not in a good space. They need support.
They need support. So, again, here is the suicide help hotline. We'll have that scrolling below so that you guys can see. We always sign off the vlog with find your gift, share it with the world, and remember, you are worth it, because you are worth it. No matter what you're going through, you are worth it, and your life is worth it. So, with that, see you tomorrow.